Several states across the nation are climbing aboard to support the propane bus movement. However, Kentucky is falling behind and missing the bus. Crittenden County has chosen to take action.
Crittenden County was the first, was the first, was the first. Crittenden County was the first to own a propane bus.
The Crittenden County Board of Education has a set of big 6 overarching goals for the school district. One of those big 6 goals is to be as efficient as possible with all resources provided to the school district. And as an outgrowth of setting goals toward achieving that, we began a real high-functioning energy management team. And that group began to meet and talk about how could we be more efficient.
How do we effectively use the resources that we have already? What are some new avenues that we can take to look at new opportunities to be efficient in our use of resources?
It actually began with Bill Asbridge, who is a board member that brought up the idea of a propane bus. And
his father began using propane years ago on their farm. And Bill said, you know, I keep hearing about propane buses. Why can't we consider that?
We researched alternative fuels. We looked at other states and other school districts that were utilizing alternative fuel in their school buses.
When we hired Wayne Winters a couple years ago, he started researching the idea, and Wayne didn't take no for an answer. And so he kept on with the transportation department, and they finally agreed to meet.
And we put together a presentation for the Department of Transportation at the Kentucky Department of Education and received an okay from them to pilot the first propane-fueled school bus in the state of Kentucky.
It is the first and the only in the state of Kentucky, so you know, it's a big deal for Crittenden County.
Up to last summer, there were no specifications in any of the transportation manuals to even allow this type of alternative fuel to be used for transporting students until the Crittenden County team met with the individuals at the Kentucky Department of Education last year and again made the case for how safe propane-fueled buses are, for the cost efficiency, for the safety ratings, and that there was a district in the state that was willing and had the commitment of the Board of Education, the superintendent, the individuals that would be needed to provide maintenance on this bus to make it work in our school district.
The propane bus is safe, 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 safe. The propane bus is safe, safe, safe. Mommy knows I'm fine.
Since the tragic bus crash in 1988, safety has been a lingering concern throughout the state. Before piloting the program, the Crittenden County School District conducted extensive research concerning the design of propane buses to ensure the safety of students and provide peace of mind for the community.
The reason Kentucky didn't have any propane buses until this first one in Crittenden County was safety. A propane engine is spark ignited like a gasoline engine. A diesel engine, all the buses we have now, are not spark ignited. They were considered to be more safe since they're not spark ignited. But research, technology has improved the safety of propane-powered vehicles so much. I was astounded when I began to do research and to see if propane truly is safe.
The research that we gathered on propane buses was that it was just as safe as a diesel bus.
Its safety rating is extremely high.
This is a 2014 Bluebird propane-powered bus that we recently acquired. And again, when you raise the hood, you'll see some similarities, but yet it's quite different. This is the V10 propane-powered Roush engine. When you get to looking, you don't see the turbo system set up on this one like you do the diesel motor. One of the things that sticks out is the really pretty rocket blue aluminum fuel rail that's designed for propane injection. That's a totally different setup than we have on the diesel buses. Again, some of the similarities, of course, is your breather, washer fluid, radiator, heater hoses, just the basic stuff. One of the things this bus has that the diesel engines do not have, this one has the air compressor that is belt driven, where our diesel buses have a gear driven air compressor. So one of the few differences you'll see if you just look in real quick to see that motor. So there's many safety features on the bus. The center frame housed fuel tank, and that fuel tank is made out of a material that's much thicker than a gas or diesel bus would have.
The tanks that are on propane buses are all made of carbon steel that is 20 times as puncture resistant as a tank that is on a gasoline or diesel powered bus.
It has to meet another set of standards by the Propane Association to be allowed to even run that tank in an automobile or for fuel on the road. So it's much thicker, much more puncture resistant, which makes it much safer to operate.
Carbon steel, 20 times as puncture resistant as what would be on a diesel bus. So in an accident, to me, that translates to 20 times as safe.
The other thing is the propane has a much higher flash point than the gas or diesel, so that in itself is a little safer to operate as well. Truly the only difference in this bus and the bus we would have bought if it had been diesel powered is the motor and the propane tank. Everything else is the same. Kentucky has the same exact safety standards for these doors, those seats, the total bus package for every bus they make. We have a minimum specification chart. That's what the manufacturers go by. So there's not going to be a huge safety difference whether this bus was diesel or propane from the standpoint of the body and chassis. The only differences between this bus and a diesel, again, is just the engine and the fuel that it runs on.
The cost of the fuel is cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. The cost of the fuel is cheap, cheap, cheap. Less than diesel fuel.
During this time of budget cuts and economical struggle, cost effectiveness is always a major concern for any school district.
Bringing this new 2014 Bluebird propane-powered bus into the Crittenden County fleet of buses is going to allow us to save approximately $5,280 this year in fuel savings alone, according to our stats that we had the first 2 months of this bus being in service.
Propane right now is about half as expensive per gallon as diesel fuel. So run the numbers.
The numbers have turned out to be quite impressive the first 2 months of service. We are looking at about 23 cents a mile to operate this bus versus two of the other buses we're studying along with this one, and the diesels are costing us about 56 cents a mile to operate. So based on a 16,000 mile route like this bus is on, we're looking right now, the way the numbers are going, at about a $5,280 savings per year.
But one of the great things about propane is it burns so clean that the bus itself doesn't have the maintenance issues that a diesel powered bus does. So that saves us money as well.
And so all of those things benefit not only the school district, but any cost savings from a propane fueled bus can then go right back into the cost for student learning and teaching and learning.
Come on, y'all, let's ride the bus.
The Crittenden County School District chose to pilot a propane bus because of its cleanliness, cost effectiveness, and safety. As a whole, the district encourages others to climb aboard to form their own propane programs to move the educational transportation system in the state of Kentucky forward.
The Crittenden County School District is paving the way for other districts in the state. I think it's great that the Crittenden County Schools are being efficient with our resources, which includes how we handle transportation. And I think that it is a model for other school districts to follow. And I believe that, we're kind of ushering in a new era.
30, 40 years from now, when students here have children going to Crittenden County, then they can say that people across the state, and there's a lot of propane buses out there, that Crittenden County was the first to have a propane bus. And I think that's a tremendous statement to make.
Well, we've collected approximately 2 months worth of data, and Wayne Winters is collecting data for the Kentucky Department of Education on mileage, maintenance cost, how it's running on the routes, just all kinds of data points that are being collected right now. And at this point, some of the numbers that we are getting are even more positive than our early projections. And so the data just 2 months in is really going to help, I think, to build the case that this propane-fueled school bus is the way to go.
We want to do a good job, not just for Crittenden County, but for our state as a whole, so that we can, as a state, become more resource efficient.
They're getting interest right now across the state from other districts that will want propane buses, simply because of the last 6 years we've had budget cuts across the state in education, and so transportation is one of the major sources of resources that are being used. So that's one way that we can do it. So if you're talking about $4,000 or $5,000 a year per bus, it's a significant savings.
Those numbers are part of what has led to the opportunity to Crittenden County to add a few more propane-powered buses to our fleet. KDE has given us a green light to put a few more propane-powered buses on this pilot program. So they're trying to get a little bit broader area of coverage on routes and miles, and that again will allow them to get more data to reinforce and assure them that propane-powered buses in Kentucky is the right answer.
Don't miss the bus. Propane is the future.